PulseChain.
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 Bitcoin's at half of all-time highs now at around 10,000, but the difficulty's at all-time highs. So I would suggest you always purchase coins instead of buying mining hardware. If you backtest it, it's always a superior way to invest.
With the Bitcoin halving less than 8 months away, what should holders and enthusiasts watch for in the run-up to this major event in the cryptoverse? Richard Hart, Hex.win.
Hello, everyone. This or this? Hi, everyone. How's it going out there? Fabulous. I know you like to have a presentation at the end of the day. My name is Richard Hart. You may know me from my pitiful YouTube channel and pitiful Twitter channel where I've got about 100,000 followers combined. I've got a price prediction channel. I called the $20,000 Christmas when it was about 4,000 a few months early. I told people it was a good short at 19,000. I called the multi-year bear market at 8,500. I told people to close their shorts at 4,000 after we tapped 3,000. And that's all nice and good and fine. I launched a currency, what I'm giving out to free to Bitcoin holders. If you've got Bitcoin, you can claim it for free. When I got into Bitcoin, Bitcoin was free. When I first started mining, you could mine full blocks on your own without a pool. And back then, you would get 50 Bitcoin per block, which now is a lot of money. You know, 10,000 a coin, 50 coins. That's about $500,000 you'd get for mining a single block back then. These days, it's a lot harder to mine Bitcoin. So in the beginning, in 2009, 2010, you can mine it on your CPU. Then you'd have to do it with video cards. It became exponentially harder. Then it became exponentially harder again when we went to ASICs. Now, if you want to mine Bitcoin, you got to spend a lot of thousands of dollars in a country you might not live in, hope that they send it to you on time, hope that the difficulty didn't go too high. Bitcoin's at half of all-time highs now at around 10,000, but the difficulty's at all-time highs. So I would suggest you always purchase coins instead of buying mining hardware. If you backtest it, it's always a superior way to invest. So what's so good about Bitcoin? How high could the price go? Well, I think it'd go really high. Why? We don't actually have any adoption. There's only 2.8 million wallets with over 1,000 US dollars in them. Clash of Clans, a popular freemium video game, has 100 million users a day. It's one of maybe 5 or 6 casual games which has over 100 million users a day. That's a lot of potential digital ecosystem, digital money that could enter the Bitcoin ecosystem. Offshore finance, people hiding money offshore, jurisdictional arbitrage, 13 trillion, 14 trillion, something along those lines. And how much of that is really fed into Bitcoin thus far? Well, not as much as it could, because we're being crippled by the on-ramps, we're being crippled by the exchanges. They make it, very hard for Bitcoin businesses. If you're a Bitcoin business in the United States, there's maybe 3 or 4 banks that'll take your business, and if they don't like you, you just can't have a bank account anymore. It's very hard to compete and replace the old incumbents that beat you up with gotcha capitalism and hidden fees and negative interest rates, where you pay them to hold your money. It's very hard to replace those guys when they won't give you an account to help replace them, right? If you try and use a Bitcoin ATM to replace them, which also is beat with laws and regulations from FinCEN, it's cost about 10% to get in, 10% to get out, 20% round trip. That's unbearable. It's a little bit better on the digital exchange side. If you use Coinbase, it's about 0.5% to get in and out. But, still, it's not that great. So imagine if we could have something that goes from 0 to 20,000 with very little adoption. Imagine what would happen if you got more adoption. Exponential price increase. They're massively adopting blockchain, not Bitcoin, in China, but all the blockchain stocks there is pumped, limit up 10% on that news, and now all of the educational things that train their young people is pushing towards blockchain. And I believe that if things like Libra and blockchains in China onboard people into the digital ecosystem, it will eventually turn into energy for Bitcoin, because you might come in for a stable coin or to do regulatory arbitrage and work around a currency control, but then you'll stay and invest more for the mad gains. And these are the highest appreciating assets that have ever existed in the history of mankind. Kind of the reason I'm an expert on it is, miner, trader, thought leader in the space. I have seen people become very, very, very wealthy from these things, and I've also seen people get wrecked and destroyed. So I would advise you that perhaps you don't take up margin trading, because you are not smarter than the people whose money you're trying to take. It's a less than zero-sum game. After you take out the exchange fees, right? Like some people offer you 100x margin. Why do they give you 100x margin? So you can trade 100 times more money than you started with, and that amplifies the house advantage against you. So they make 100 times the fees if you trade 100 times more money than you really have, and in the end, you get destroyed and you have nothing left, right? So what else is great about Bitcoin? You could have a Swiss bank account in your head. You could travel across jurisdictions with as much money as you want. So when you fly into the airport in this country or in Malta today, if you looked on the wall, there was a notice that said you have to report any money that you have over 10,000 euros. It's fine, you can bring over 10,000 euros if you want, but you do have to report it. I would be surprised if a lot of people are reporting it. As a matter of fact, I'd be surprised if anyone really has the 10,000 to bring with them at all, right? What else is happening that's amazing in Bitcoin? We've got the halvening. If you guys don't know what the halvening is, in Bitcoin, every 4 years, the rate of new coins that comes out gets dropped in half. So when I first got in and mined Bitcoin, 50 per block, every 10 minutes, 50 Bitcoin would get issued. 4 years after that, in 2013, the rate cut in half and you would only get 25 coins per block. And then 4 years after that, the rate cut in half and you would only get 12.5 per block, which is where we are now. And about a year and a half from now, you can just Google Bitcoin halving and there'll be a site where you can click and there's a timer. That rate will now drop to 6.25. And every 4 years that will continue to drop, and it makes it much easier to hold the price up. So why do prices go up? More people are buying than selling. And if there's less supply available and static or increasing demand, you'll continue to see price appreciation. So in my opinion, I think $60,000 would be a conservative price target once we breach the previous all-time high at 20K. There is some funny stuff going on with the price. There was a very popular Bitcoin Ponzi in China called Plus Token that now holds 1% of all Bitcoin. 1% of all Bitcoin is held by a Ponzi scheme in China. And they actually got to buy the bottom. So you could see their addresses because they used a couple addresses for all the money that they took in for people. And you could watch them exponentially increase in value until the founders got arrested, which was the 14K top, and then we dropped. Now, back in the old days, 2017, it was very easy. We didn't have any dips over 40%, and we didn't have any dips that lasted longer than 35 days. This last dip that we've had from 14K is around 130 days now, something like that, and it exceeded the 40% dip law, and it went down to about 45.7, depending on where you trade. And that makes it a risky endeavor. So, we went 40% up in a day based on President Xi of China saying, hey, we like blockchain. Could you have predicted that? No. And no one front ran the price. We didn't have premiums on futures. We didn't have premiums on options. Nobody front ran that price. He, with a word, drove the price up 40%. Now, we had the President of America, Donald Trump, say bad things about the blockchain. And his homie in Treasury, Mnuchin, he said bad things about the blockchain, called it a national security issue, which I don't like that language. I know what that means. If it's a national security issue, they can do absolutely anything they want. I don't think they should be using that language in regards to the blockchain. He wasn't able to drive the price down. He got the price to go up on his bad news, and then it dipped a little bit after. So I think the president of China, for some reason, has a much larger effect on Bitcoin price than does the president of the United States or the man in charge of Treasury. I could take very short questions if you guys have any. Does any of you guys have a question out there? Silence in the audience. Okay, let's try something fun. Raise your hands if you want to make a lot of money on the blockchain. Does anyone here want to get rich on the blockchain? Nobody. Two people. 3 or 4%. Everyone else here is in it for the technology. Expensive tickets, we're in it for the technology. There's a guy in India that used to wear a gold shirt and gold clothing, and people just overlay his face that says in it for the tech. So if you guys are in it for the tech, you might want to claim this free thing I built for Bitcoin holders. It's just like EOS in that you can transform Bitcoin or Ethereum into it if you want, or you can free claim it with Bitcoin if you want. It's hex.win. We don't give free money to any of the other coins. That's one of the nice things about owning Bitcoin is that you get all the forks. You get Bitcoin Gold, you get Bitcoin Diamond, you get BCH, and then the BCH turn into BSV, and you keep getting all of these free things because they're the premier blue chip with the most liquidity, and if you're in one of those other coins, you don't get all those free things, right? I got 40 seconds left. What other nice things could I say about Bitcoin? Smartest developers, most liquidity, best regulatory certainty. Yeah, I like it. It made me really rich. I'm glad that some of you guys bought my bags that I bought in at 30 and mined for free. I'm glad some of you guys were willing to buy them at, 9K, 10K. I hope that you're able to buy some more at 60K in a year or two, because the supply rate is going to cut in half soon, and that's going to be very good for price, along with China. I can't tell you how good that is, having some place that's just FOMOing the blockchain. Come for the stable coins, and then FOMO in for the mad gains. Pleasure, guys.